So what is it about Kundalini that so many spiritual masters don't talk about? And when you go through spiritual awakening, well, the first thing that will come up, it will be from this lifetime. It will be from your family of origin. And we're talking here about the early stages of spiritual awakening. Spiritual awakening, Kundalini awakening is exactly the same. And it's the whole journey from untruth to truth, darkness to light, ignorance to enlightenment. And so what is not being discussed openly, maybe some of you know a little tiny bit, but most people I've seen with my follower and disciple and in my entourage that no one has ever looked at this. And this will be shattering, mind shattering, will give you so many insight and realization about your own spiritual journey. So the first thing that will come up, it will always be your codependency. Codependency is rampant on the planet. It's an epidemic. If so, some of you don't know what's codependency, without going in depth, because this is not a satsang on psychology, but codependency is a response stimulus where it's a learned pattern that you have learned from your family of origin, that you grew up, you became very dependent on this person. It could be a parent, a grandparent, an aunt, or maybe a nanny, and then you attach to them, you live through them, and then it's a very unhealthy relationship. And as a consequence of codependency, you start developing fear of abandonment. What many of you have heard that so-called term, the wounded inner child. There's not such a thing as a wounded inner child. It does not exist. If you look inside of you, it's like the same thing with the ego. It's a false sense of identification of ego, of identification, whatever it is, religious, ethnic, or sex orientation or gender. It does not exist. It's just a samskara, an impression, a karmic impression that is imprinted into your subtle body. What is a karmic impression? It's just a memory. The subtle body is like a software. It records everything. And when you reincarnate, the causal body bring back that software, some of the karmic structure that is very deep into the soul. It's always been carried from one lifetime to another lifetime until it's completely wiped out. And a samskara, an impression, can become a vasana, a tendency. So when it comes to codependency, it's a tendency. It's not a samskara anymore. And as a consequence, the byproduct is a fear of abandonment. A fear of abandonment is also a very strong vasana. So it's inevitable, beloved, as a seeker, or even if you're not even a seeker, you're not even on the spiritual path, when you start to awaken and start asking those big questions about fundamental question, existential question, who am I? What am I doing here? What is the meaning of my life? And then you start really going through a manifestation and the blessing and the grace, if you are on the spiritual path of a spiritual awakening. And as the energy moves into the Anahata, it can be very, very traumatizing and very painful, because it brings a fury of emotion and feelings. It's very intense. And it's always from this lifetime first, and it will always bring back that codependency and then those fear of abandonment. Maybe you haven't recognized it as such, but a fear of abandonment is you always have to latch on, to hang on emotionally to someone, otherwise you feel like you're collapsing, you can't stand. You haven't gained an emotional maturity where you can stand and you can just be complete and hold in your own presence. And that's why the spiritual path and sadhana is so incredibly important. So the other thing that is not talked about, and I'm speaking from my own experience, and some of you who are my follower and my disciple or devotee for quite some time, who have read Becoming the Light, Realize You True Enlightened Nature, you know my childhood was incredibly abusive. There was a lot of codependency, and my father was like verbally abusive and emotionally and mentally abusive and physically abusive. And he was not so much like that with the older one because they were gone. It was targeted towards this one. And so I remember one time he grabbed me for no reason, and he was drinking, and he threw me on the wall like a baseball bat, you know, like a ball back. And I mean, and I would be black and blue and bleeding. It was very intense. I'm not going to go there. This is like a completely different lifetime. And what happened in this lifetime is so miraculous and so extraordinary and so phenomenal. And that's why I'm here for you, beloved, to share the deep wisdom and the deep love that I have for you, why I stay, and to impart. Because I have walked the path. I am one of you who came into the light and became the light. So can you. And so the other major point I want to share about this is, well, when you start awakening in those early stages, it's so frightening. It's like a sense of terror, because it brings back those feelings like from your family of origin that you were broken, or you were not lovable, or you were hated, or you were rejected, or you were unwanted. This was the case here, feeling completely unwanted. Beloved, the Divine Mother just absolutely loves you. Every moment of your life, just go back to your present breath, conscious and mindfully, and remind yourself, you're the most beloved child. The Divine Mother, as some of you know, it just means the Divine, God, Allah, whatever we call it, the absolute truth is here in the yogic tradition, is the phenomenal divine feminine energy, the primal energy that manifests and animate everything, the beauty of this creation, and that is you. So what happened there when this early stages happened, and it almost happened with this one, but my spirit and my soul, I was listening so deeply. And so I'm going to ask you, make a promise to yourself and to Devi Mayi that you're going to slow down and really take the time to listen to your haunting song, what I call the haunting song of your soul and your spirit, crying, to listen and to allow yourself to go through the process. Because the biggest mistake is everybody wants to run away. But the truth is, it's a phenomenal blessing, beloved. I can tell you from my own experience and from what I witnessed with my own followers. It's so beautiful. They've been thrown into the sacred fire of divine transformation. And it's because you allowed yourself to go there. You do not run away. It's just a matter of allowing this karmic structure to come up, because when you feel it, you need to process. It was repressed. As a child, you were not given permission or allowed it yourself, because you're a little child, you don't know how to cope with that. It's too overwhelming, and it's all repressed in the subtle body. For this one, when I went through a phenomenal in terms of very intense and powerful clinical depression, it was like, it was a volcano. Could not handle the emotion and the feelings. So I can relate to you. That's why spiritual guidance, divine guidance, and walking the spiritual path in a relationship of spiritual master and student is so top priority, because clarity will be given to you, guidance will be given to you, and you're not walking alone, and you have a community also. And by the way, join our community. If this resonates with your soul and your spirit, if you're new to our sanctuary, our beloved community, click the like button and share with your friends and your family, especially with someone who really needs to hear that. And subscribe and leave the bell on. And by the way, after this video satsang, I highly recommend you do this Divine Mother Embrace meditation, so you can really go deep, allowing the sacred space, inner shrine temple for you to heal. And there will be a divine transmission. There is a divine transmission in all our yogic practices and all our meditation. And I highly recommend you do it more than once. So what I was saying is, what is not talked about, number one, is the first thing will come up in the early stages, is the codependency. That needs to go, because it will rule your life. You need to cut the string. And as a consequence, you will suffer from fear of abandonment. And the second most important point is, when you go through those early stages, the tendency, the vasana, is to run away. I have done it when I was much younger. Running away is not the solution. Look at it, beloved. It's like a cancer or like a major infection. I remember I had many major infections in my knee, and I ended up in emergency hospital. There was staph infection. One was caused by our ingrown hair, and it grew so fast in 24 hours, and it was making my whole body so sick with fever. So think of it like that. Do you know how tragic can be a staph infection in your body? Did you know you could die from it? And so I ended up, it happened twice, but I'll just tell you briefly this little thing. And it was actually on Christmas Eve, and I could not handle it anymore. My whole area on my legs, it was so swollen and so big and so red. I was having high fever. I ended up to emergency hospital on Christmas Eve. Can you imagine? They had to anesthetize my leg. They dig in, open up, and there was huge amount of pus, and it was so painful. And then they removed the ingrown hair. Can you imagine ingrown hair can do that? And it took a couple of weeks, maybe even a month, for it to heal properly. But this thing made me so sick. It was unbelievable. It's the same thing. The early stages of spiritual awakening and Kundalini ascension is the same. It will bring a sense of maybe terror, a sense of all those negative emotions, miserable, crying, screaming, sobbing. Let it go. It's a blessing. Change your perception. See it. This is a blessing. And is otherwise, if I take that same example and you allow the infection to grow and take over your whole being, it will kill you. It will ruin your life. It's the same thing here, beloved. This is how you need to look at this early stages of spiritual awakening. That's why having the guidance, having the sadhana, the spiritual practices, so you could move that karmic structure, because it's just the Divine Mother, Shakti, what we call Mahashakti, it's just the primordial energy. It's not a religion, it's not a dogma, it's not a doctrine, it's just part of the great yogic tradition that Shiva brought on this planet. It is the science of self-realization, of enlightenment. And it's a big inclusive welcome to anyone who follow a religion. Doesn't matter which religion, because yoga is not, it has nothing to do with that. It's about higher consciousness and a higher vibrational frequency, and to tap into your true divine nature of who you are, Satchit Ananda, that bliss that you are, that is omnipotent, omnipresent, absolute truth consciousness everywhere. So beloved, I will tell you, if I did it, you can do it. Everyone can do it. Enlightenment is your natural state. It is, you are first a divine presence. You're not the body, you're not the mind. First, the soul, the spirit, our created, divine created us. And so we are one with it. And when you realize that, and then the rest is just getting rid of garbage. And that, the earliest stage of spiritual awakening, are probably the biggest challenges, because often you're alone and you don't know what to do, you don't know how to cope, and the natural tendency is just to run away. It's okay, you might be a victim of it, maybe you already did that, it's okay. Forgive yourself. But right now you're here, there's a reason, the Divine Mother brought you here for a reason. God, the Creator, whatever we may call it, you're here. Trust in the synchronicity of the divine, why you're here, and it's time to really listen to your soul and your spirit and your heart. Don't you agree? And so, going through those early stages, the last thing I'm going to say is that the third point, and that's not talked about also, is the early stage of spiritual awakening or Kundalini ascension is, you got to treat it as a satvic approach. Satvic, it's a guna. It's a quality of the universe. There's 3 qualities that govern the universe, but we won't speak only one of them now, because the subject for this video is satsang. Is not about that. By the way, if you're interested in having a satsang on just the triguna, just write it in the comment section and we could do a short video satsang on that. Would you love that? So say yes with a big heart in the comment section. And by the way, share your experience. What has been for you? Are you now in the early stages of spiritual awakening, or have you already crossed that? Just know that if your energy is in the Anahata, it still is in the early stages. You could be in that for many years. That's why walking the spiritual path with a spiritual master, it will accelerate that. Help you move the energy faster so you can experience this dimension, this reality, completely different, and get rid of the most stinky garbage that you have accumulated and conditioned. Because it's just an accumulation. Karma is just accumulation, conditioning, brainwashing. And so I was saying, based on the satvic, means based on the principle of lucidity. And this is, in my eye, they all are important, equally important. Sattva, tamasic, is the very first one, tamasic, and then Raj, based on the principle of activity, and Tama is based on the principle of inertia. But Sattva is, to me, is the most important, because when you increase your Sattva, your Satvic nature, life become easier, smoother, joyous, blissful. So what it means is, when you live your life, or here in this case is the early stages of spiritual awakening, Kundalini ascension, meaning, okay, I am going to do this now, face it and do the work and get rid, because it's just purification. When the energy moves through the 7 most important chakra, the Divine Mother just come and clean up the garbage, things that doesn't serve you. And so if you allow that to happen, and to happen fast, that means it's Sattva. Meaning, in the beginning, it's could be painful, it could engender suffering and pain, but in the long run, it will liberate you, it will free you, it will allow you to experience your divine presence, it will allow you to be joyful by your true nature, and happy and at ease, and life become like a garden, because I always say this is your entire garden. So this is your divine garden, beloved. Your subtle body is your garden. So treat it as such. Be with Devi Ma now. If you embark on the spiritual path, or whatever it is that you choose to go, really take the time to listen and address your divine garden, meaning time to pull out the weeds, all the bad weeds. Springtime is all about that. Plant the right seed, the right amount of water, the right amount of protection from the element, the right amount of sunlight, the right concoction. And that's what a spiritual master does, help you bring that clarity, that divine guidance, and the spiritual tool and the transmission, and at many levels. So, beloved, I deeply welcome you to join our community. Make sure you press and you experience this beautiful, powerful embrace of the Divine Mother meditation, and do some gardening inside, and write down your question and share, beloved, with our community. Everyone loves to read other comment and interact, because it serves the higher purpose of everyone's well-being. And lastly, from my heart to your heart and your soul, we have launched a beautiful free complimentary gift, Awakened to You Divine Presence. And the link will be there in the description, and I think probably also in the comment section. If this satsang resonates with you, this is a 33 days or 22 days, depending what you choose to do, mini spiritual journey. It's a gift, it's free, and it will just help you raise your vibrancy, raise your frequency, and start changing your perception. So, namaste. I send you all my love and light and grace and blessing. Om Namah Shivaya.